Hello there, dear ones. Hello and welcome. It's Psychic Cynthia here, Spiritual Psychic Cynthia Killian, filming for you out in my fairy garden. And I'm logging on today just to talk for a moment about the spiritual, emotional, and mental dimensions of the current world situation, just what's going on. And filming in September of 2021, I hope that this won't be going on forever, but whenever you're watching this message, maybe it's relevant for you. Listen, I don't know if you noticed or not, but it's a hard time right now, worldwide. I mean, these are dark times in some ways. And it's not normal, okay? And a lot of people are struggling right now. And one of the things that I've been noticing recently, I've been noticing it really ever since, I want to say spring. So ever since back in April here. I live in the northern hemisphere, so spring for me starts in late March, April. And I've been noticing it out in the garden. It's really interesting. I notice these things happening in nature, in the garden first. And then later on, I'll see them happening in humans. So what seems to be happening is, well, maybe you've noticed. Have you noticed that just recently in the last few months, for many people, there has been an increase in unexpected death and personal tragedies? And I don't mean just from the pandemic, okay? And yes, that's tragic, and some of it is happening that way. But I'm hearing stories from people I actually know, loved ones and friends, maybe, they've lost people, okay? And maybe some of the people they've lost, maybe some of those people had a little bit of a health issues, but then it's like all of a sudden they kicked the bucket, or, there were problems all of a sudden in a pregnancy that, weren't expected. But many deaths, many unexpected deaths, this isn't just one that I've heard of or two, but many unexpected deaths from all kinds of strange things. And just many unexpected issues coming up and challenges. And the deaths, I want to talk about that because I've talked with my guides about this, and I've asked them, like, what is up with this? And also relationships ending, relationships that seem to be good. In other words, there's people that seem to be doing okay, or situations, and all of a sudden, just recently, in the last few months especially, it's just fallen to hell, right? It's just like ending all of a sudden. And it seems like it's just all of a sudden over, and it's perplexing, right? It's perplexing. And in a way it's not, though. And, it does remind me of what happened in my garden earlier this year. And I had some plants die. Oh, there's a cat fight going on. How appropriate for what I'm talking about. Knock it off, kids. Anyway, I had some long-term perennial plants die, some plants that gave me usually a lot of spiritual energy. They'd come back every year. For example, the yarrow. And any of you who know anything about plant energy know that yarrow is very sacred. And last year I should say, I utilized some of the yarrow to make divination sticks with, so I could do readings. Because this is a really healthy plant. It's about 5 or 6 years old. And then it didn't come back this year. It died. So this is a plant example of what I'm talking about. Things that you hadn't thought of. People that seem to be doing well, right? During this pandemic, during the challenges we've had. Jobs that seem to be doing well, life situations that seem to be doing well, and then all of a sudden, in the last few months, everything's hitting the fan and disintegrating and going apart. So I asked my guides about this, and what I received is this. I'm going to try to put it into words the best I can. They showed me that many of us, including parts of nature as well, including my yarrow plant, there were many brave, bold souls in the last year, especially in 2020 and the beginning of this year. They were staying here on this earth plane and holding on just to help others survive, to help others get through. In other words, it was going to be their time already, but they couldn't go yet because they needed to help somebody here who was supposed to stay and continue on stay. So that's part of it. The other part of it is with these situations that are deteriorating rapidly that you hadn't expected, including health situations that, wow, it's like, what's happening? You know, you had to hold it together last year, okay? And the people you love, if you're still here, you have survived one of the more difficult periods in human history. You have survived. And that's wonderful. And by the way, most of us have survived. I do want to point that out. There's been a lot of tragedy and loss, but there's still many of us here, okay? And so many of us have survived. But last year, when all of this crazy chaos is going on, you know, we were in survival mode. And we also had a lot of Pluto energy last year, astrologically, if you want to look at the astrology, and a lot of Capricorn energy. And so Capricorn, and I know because I'm a Capricorn sun, Capricorn is a survivor. It goes into this pragmatic mode. We all went into this pragmatic mode, like, okay, we're going to, it's a bootstrap sign too, so we pulled ourselves up. We did what we had to do, and we put all of our psychic and emotional and mental resources into that, and our emotional resources, okay, especially. I think I already said emotional, but I just want to emphasize that. We put a lot of our energy, and of course our physical energy as well, into getting through the situation. And at that time, we couldn't really deal with things that needed to be dealt with. Like, you know, if we had a job situation, well, maybe we dealt with it, but we didn't have to deal with it too much because it's a pandemic, right? And, you know, you just have to take it one day at a time. And maybe there was a relationship you've been in, and you might have even found that during those times of crisis you were growing closer together, but now all of a sudden you seem to be growing further apart. But is it really all of a sudden? Because what happened was you had to put all of your energies into dealing with the stress of this crazy ongoing situation, but especially last year it was crazier, it was harder. So really, you know, our soul, your soul, I'm talking about not only on an emotional level, but your soul, it has a built-in mechanism where it can focus in. Also, part of your soul leaves, and I have a video about that. I have a video about, maybe I can put a link for you, about how many people have experienced soul loss lately, especially as a result of what happened in 2020. It's just went out, you know, not like your whole soul's gone, but parts of it. And that's still going on, by the way, as you know, with all the polarization and blaming of each other, which is not good, okay? And listen, I don't care where you know, stand on certain issues or whatever, that's your business. I love you regardless, right? I love humanity, and, you know, we need to love each other. That's what helps to heal the planet, not blaming each other and not projecting our issues out. You know, I know a lot of us are afraid, and, you know, it's easy when you're afraid or you feel out of control or you don't know what's going to happen. It's easy just to maybe distract yourself, right? That's kind of what the guides are saying. Like, you know, maybe you distract yourself by just getting by, but now you don't have to just do that anymore. Most people know if you're still here, you know you're still here, right? So now you have to deal with life. But that means that all the problems that were brewing underneath the surface, all the tension that you were carrying that you weren't dealing with, it's coming up now. And that's hard on people. That's hard on their bodies, by the way. That's why some are having these sudden, strange deaths, not related to necessarily, you know, the pandemic. It could be, but other causes. That's why there's strange metaphorical deaths too. It's like all of a sudden you thought you were doing okay in your job, and all of a sudden, oh my God, you're getting fired, or you're being forced to move, or oh, you thought you were maybe doing okay in a relationship, and then all of a sudden it seems like you're not. But it's not really all of a sudden. These things have been cooking for a while. So anyway, I just wanted to log on to let you know about that, and that might help you to understand as you move through the grief. Because the other thing that I've been hearing from my guides is that this is a time of grieving now for many. So in other words, we've survived. Yes, there's still challenges before us, but we have survived the worst of it, at least mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, because the worst of it really is when it first comes and you're not used to it. So we've gone through that phase. But now we have to go through the phase of, hopefully we will move from surviving to trying to find a way to thrive again. And part of that is going to be grieving what has been lost. Because there have been many losses. And I don't mean just death. I mean loss of quality of life. Things will not be the same again. And this doesn't mean that you shouldn't try to do activities that you enjoy. You absolutely should. You should get on with your life the best way that you can. But we're not able to go back to the way it was, and whether you like that or you don't like that, I mean, I have mixed feelings about it. I had a really good life before COVID. I mean, I still have a pretty good life. I had friends that used to come over and visit who are so afraid now they don't leave their houses to go almost anywhere. And I think about how they're missing out on, having tea and seeing the garden, because the garden is, only awake during certain months of the year. I do live in a place where there's seasons. So I grieve that, I grieve, I don't know, the loss, the death. I've lost many people in life, my whole life. So I'm no stranger to death. I'm no stranger. I've actually died a couple of times and come back, so I mean that literally. But there's things, even if you haven't experienced death, there is the death of the old way of life. So we're all now in a place, or many of us, let me say, many of us are in a place now where we need to grieve that. We need to give ourselves permission to move through that. And then in the grief, there is a seed. Just like with these flowers, and when this flower starts to die, it leaves behind a seed, and that seed plants something new. Actually, this one plants all over my yard. I always have to pull it out, and I think humans are prolific too. So, yes, there's endings right now. Those endings were going to happen anyway. They just got put off for a while, is what I'm saying. And you may be resistant around it. I mean, especially with Saturn and Uranus doing their dance this year, with Saturn being in Aquarius, and Uranus and Taurus, there's strong fixed energies. So there's a part that doesn't want to let go. But a beautiful affirmation you can say for yourself at this time, maybe a couple. One would be one of my favorites. I've just used so many years. It's just simply, I'm open to change. I'm willing to change. I'm open to change. I'm willing to change. And then also, you might say, I'm willing to release the parts of my life that I no longer need. I'm willing to release any energy in my life that no longer serves me. Say some affirmations like that. It will help. It will help you to let go a little bit, because a lot of people are still holding on so tightly. And by the way, that's hard. That's hard on you. It's hard on your emotions, your mind, your spirit. It's harder to connect with your guides when you're clenched like this. It's why one of the first things I work with my students, my psychic students, my spiritual students, is helping them to relax, chill. Do some activities that help with that, okay? And it's different for each person. But think of that as a priority, because if you can relax a little, then you can let go. And that is the direction we're being nudged in right now. Right now, as I'm doing this video, because we have 6 major planets in retrograde, and Mercury will soon join, so that's seven major heavenly bodies. And retrogrades are all about letting go. And this time that we're in, it's time to let go. We have survived. We're here still. If you're watching this, you're here. And so you need to let go of anything that's not resolved yet. Resolve it. Resolving can be letting go. So it isn't just like, oh, I'm just going to forget about that. Sometimes you have to do something to release it. You may need to say your piece to another. You may need to make amends. You may need to forgive them or yourself. And for goodness sake, don't worry so much about what other people are doing, what you think they should be doing. And this blame game, it's not serving you, okay, if you're doing that. It's not serving anybody. Let's get back to thinking about how we can really serve each other and care for each other by also taking responsibility and dealing with our stuff. You know, getting our psychic energies and our emotional energies in the right place. And that's why I'm out here filming for you, because doing this, you know, also I'm talking to myself, by the way, and I'm standing here with the beautiful Rose of Sharon. And this is one of those flower vibrations that you can tune into. It carries the unconditional love energy, the Christ consciousness, as in the higher Christ, or you can think of it also maybe as being connected to Mary or Kuan Yin. Just that universal energy of forgiveness. And look how open she is. Look how, when you're open, how much more beautiful you are. And letting go can be beautiful, and going on can be beautiful. And being open to change, this can help you so much. So, yeah, let the change happen. It was building up last year. While you were busy surviving, while we all were, it was building up. It's long overdue. So just lean into it. Don't resist. Open. Be your beautiful self. Be the most beautiful self you can be every day. That's all the universe asks of you, is to be the best that you can be. The most joyous, the most beautiful, the most loving, the most kind. Just do your best. That's enough. All right, until next time, I'm Psychic Cynthia, and I'm sending you all bright blessings.